the most important thing about the record for us was, like, we wanted it to sound believable. You know what I mean? And I don't mean believable in, like, we're faking it and making it sound believable. I mean, we wanted it to sound exciting and sound like something was really happening. You know, like, you believed me when I was singing. It's not just, I'm not just singing words, like, I'm actually in the song, if that makes sense. And I feel like a bunch of the songs really do that for me still. Like, I don't even, I'm like, that's my voice? That sounds so weird. But I'm always like that about records or about seeing myself, you know, briefly in a movie or whatever, and I'm like, whoa, that's me. It's hard to recognize yourself, you know, in the work that you do and not feel like it's somebody else, kind of.
Yes, but you never would strike me as an artist with an inauthentic voice. Even going back to what you were doing with Bikini Kill, it's always been you, hasn't it?
I guess, but it's like I really felt so much more like I was playing a girl in a band back in Bikini Kill. I never really felt like I was a musician or, you know, I had to sort of put on this. I was really interested in feminist performance art, and so I saw myself much more as a feminist performance artist than as a musician. And then in Tigre, that was such a conceptual project for the three of us. And then this band is just a band. We're just a band. And I think I've always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to be in a band that was just a that's just a band. And that you don't know what to expect from us. You don't know what the next song's going to be like. It's not all going to be political anthems, you know what I mean? And we don't have that expectation over our heads. And I don't know, it's just like really fun, and I feel like I deserve it.
I'd say there's no doubt that you deserve it after the last few years that you've had. I wonder, you know, for all the downside of being so ill for a long time, is the upside that it gave you some clear air and some perspective on what you wanted to do?
Absolutely, you know, and it really taught me to ask people for help. You know, I couldn't. I had a IV line, a PICC line in my arm that went to my heart for 9 months, and I couldn't lift anything with my right arm. I couldn't open a door. There's a lot of things that I couldn't do for myself. And at the time, I was moving, and all my friends showed up to pack stuff because I couldn't pack it. And I asked them to come, and they all showed up. And that was a really big moment for me because I'd never reached out and said, hey, I cannot do this myself. Will you help me? And having people showed up really, I think I learned through the illness that I'm loved and that my friends really care about me. And I don't think I'd ever really let that in. For, 40 years, I hadn't really let myself feel so loved. And I realized that the love of my friends is and my husband are the most important things in my life, and everything beyond that is kind of gravy. So how psyched am I to be on stage now? I'm just like, I've been given my life back. I could barely walk, and now I'm on stage. Like, I really feel like I've been given a second chance at life, and I did learn a lot of great things, but I still wish that it wouldn't have happened. It still was very unfortunate.
It's yes. It's funny, with illnesses, when they go for a long time, they can begin to redefine you, can't they? That suddenly you start seeing yourself perhaps as less one thing and more of a sick person, or that can really kind of mess with your head. You went from, feminist kind of punk icon to someone who was very, very ill. And that must have been very difficult to remain positive during that time and still see yourself as a kind of creative person.
I mean, to be honest, I was bedridden a lot of the time. And, going through the process of archiving my work, and there's a film that's coming out about me called The Punk Singer, and that was being shot while I was still ill, and I had to watch, footage of myself on stage as a part of that process, and I felt so far removed from it, and I was like, whoa, I used to be able to do these things that I can no longer do. And I did start to see myself as a sick person, and I did start to lose my fight after many, many, many years of misdiagnosis and a lot of really traumatic pain. And then I finally, through the band, by starting the band, I was like, I might not have a chance to play music again, and even if I can only play one day a month, I'm going to do that, because when I was singing, I felt like myself again. And I started to actually see Kathleen, and I was like, there I am. And I realized that's who I am, is when I'm singing and when I'm performing, and that was what was going to give me hope. So the record took 3 years, but I'm in remission from the Lyme disease now, and I'm able to perform, and I just feel like, yeah, I've been given a second chance.
The songs that we're hearing on the Julie Ruin album, are they all the product of the last 3 years, or are they tunes that you've been working on, since the Tigre release? And when was that, 94 or so?
They're all new. They're all stuff that we wrote together. The only one that was old was a song called Just My Kind. It's a love song. And I actually wrote that with Johanna, for Johanna Fateman from Tigre, for Christina Aguilera. We wrote some songs for her many years back, and that was a song that she didn't choose. And I remember when she didn't choose it, and I was really happy because I wanted it for myself.
Can you just backtrack there? You did say that you wrote a song for
You said that in a very matter-of-fact way.
Well, I do a lot of really weird things. Like I sang on the Green Day record, American Idiot. I've done a lot of really weird jobs that sound exciting, because you're just like, whoa, what's it like to write for, somebody with such an amazing voice and such technical talent. So it was really interesting and really fun. But I was actually so sick I couldn't go to California and be with Christina in the studio, so I stayed home and kept writing, and then would email material to them, and talk on the phone about ideas.
What's your view of Christina Aguilera's work and her persona?
I love her. I'm just a sucker for her voice. I don't know what it is. I think she's just this stunning creature. I don't know why. I'm really into Christina Aguilera. What can I say? I can sing, but I can't sing like that. So, I love women's voices, and I love Brenda Lee, and I love just a wide range of female voices, and she's one of those voices that I like.
Well, you clearly, for all your early identity within indie punk, have a great appreciation for well-crafted pop as well.
Definitely, and I worked with Joan Jett during Bikini Kill. Worked with Joan Jett, and then I ended up working with her later on my own. And I remember people being like, "Oh, she's on a major label, you can't work with her." And I was like, "She's the fucking queen of rock. Of course I'm going to work with her. Are you crazy? I'm not going to let some indie purism stand in the way of working with Sonic Youth or Joan Jett or Christina Aguilera or any of these people who I think are really interesting as musicians." I think that the punk purity of the 90s is one of sort of the things that needs to be done away with, because it just feeds into binaries of all kinds. It's this is what a man is, and this is what a woman is, and this is what a punk is, and this is what, a mainstream sellout is. It's I don't want to participate in those binaries. I typically don't, watch the VMAs, the award shows, or, listen to pop radio or anything, but, I still like old Destiny's Child, Mary J. Blige. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love Mary J. Blige?
I agree. You mentioned Just My Kind before, and James Murphy produced that for you, didn't he? Did he have something to do with the whole album or just that song?
No, it was just that song. Originally, we were going to work on the whole album together, but his schedule just was too crazy, and we were like, we can't wait anymore. I mean, it had taken us so long to write and record it because of my illness. Like, I brought a mic to my house, and I just sang when I was well enough. So it was really like this crazy thing, like, running towards a drawbridge that was about to open, like, and trying to jump over to the other side. Like, I'd be like, okay, I would wake up, I'd have coffee, and I'd be like, I feel pretty good today. I feel pretty good. And then I'd be like, I'm just going to go up there and try and sing. And I'd have 2 good days, and I would just sing, and then all of a sudden I'd be out, and so it took so long to finish the record just because of my illness that by the time James got involved, it was like we just couldn't work around his schedule. We're like, okay, just do this one song, and we're going to mix the rest with Eli, who actually did the Tune Yard record that a lot of people liked, and he brought a whole new idea to the record mixing-wise, and we really wanted to find somebody who had their own personality mixing-wise because the record's so collaborative, and it was really exciting. I mean, we did kind of, give him a lot of notes. I'm kind of I micromanage everything. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like a little bit of a type A control freak personality.
I'm assuming that because you've called it the Julie Ruin, that somehow you feel that it perhaps picks up the threads of where you left your first solo album off. What is the commonality there?
I think the commonality in it is that, I wrote the first record when I was at a really bad place in my life. My band, Bikini was breaking up, and I'd sort of been painted in the media in the U.S. as like, this feminist jerk who hated men and blah, blah, blah. And then in the scene that I was in, the underground, punk feminist music scene or whatever, I'd also been sort of singled out by the media, and so there was a lot of resentment that I had been singled out when there were so many other bands and so many other activists who had done so much work, and I was very much a part of a community. It wasn't just like, I didn't create Riot Grrrl by myself in a vacuum, that happened because of a lot of different people. And so there was resentment there, and there was a lot of identity politics gone wild that was happening in Riot Grrrl that was really depressing. People sort of having the oppression Olympics of how I'm more oppressed than you because of this, and that's not productive dialogue. And so I was really depressed, and I made that record to kind of find my voice again, and I used this character, Julie Ruin, as a way to find my own voice, and just write a record and not know what was going to happen. And I'd never let myself do that before, and so I was in a similar place where I was very ill, and I needed hope in my life, and I looked back to that kind of character and, wanted to just write and not think about it and trust myself as an artist that my core values would come out in the music. And I also needed just to express what I was going through. And I think that's okay. And everything else I've done has been very audience-driven, and oftentimes very conceptual. And I kind of was like, I need to do something for me. I need to write songs that, help me express what I'm going through with this illness. I need to write a song about how much I love my partner who has stayed with me through this horrible illness and changed my IV bags and helped me to the bathroom and cook me food every day. I needed to, say, you're just my kind in public, and sing that song for him. And so it really did feel like I was picking up where I left off. And I think the band really recognized that, and they were like, we should call this the Julie Ruin.
25 minutes away from 6 o'clock, I'm talking with Kathleen Hanna of her band The Julia Ruin, but also some of her previous projects, including Bikini Kill and Tigre. And these days, Kathleen Hanna's partner is Adam Horowitz from the Beastie Boys, a former Beastie Boy member, with whom she was referring to there. It's funny, isn't it? A lot of musicians start off, writing sort of diarised songs, I suppose, all about themselves. You've ended up sort of coming to that 20 years on, haven't you, after starting from a more ideological point of view?
I know, that's what's so weird. But it's kind of like spending, 20 years in service, to others and it was also very fun. I wasn't sacrificing myself, I was really lucky that, ending violence against women has always been a hugely important mission to me, and that connects with feminism. And mixing that with something that I love to do, which is making music, has given me this, longevity. The difference with this record and the other Julia Ruin record is just that I let myself not be pressured to write feminist anthems or to write purposely, political material. And in Bikini Kill, I definitely had songs that were very personal, and they were kind of the dot where personal meets political sometimes were those songs, and I think they were for Toby as well, the songs that she wrote. So it's not like I never wrote anything personal, but a lot of times I was writing stuff like, hey, girlfriend, I double dare you to do what you want. I was writing, to my female audience and saying, come on, let's do this feminist thing. It's time, and there was a lot of that in the Tigre as well. And, I'm not necessarily, I wasn't focused on the audience on this record, partially because of the illness. I was like, I deserve to just have a record for myself. And if other people like it and relate to it, that's fantastic. But I wrote it for me and my friends, so I hope other people like it.
Well, look, one of the things that's really great about this album musically is just the sheer exuberance and that kind of pop sheen that you've got on some of the songs. And I love the voices on the album, the backing vocals, the kind of sense of fun on the album. It really does feel like a release where you're kind of clearing out the cobwebs. Yeah,
that's what it felt like to me too. And, looking around the practice space and being like, oh, we all have such different voices. Let's use that. How are we going to use it?
You mentioned before The Punk Singer, which has screened here in Australia, and I've seen it. It's a fantastic a film, and it's very moving. And it's amazing actually that it's come out, pretty much at the same time that you've relaunched yourself. Is that a happy accident or just a nice bit of serendipity?
It's definitely a happy accident. I mean, part of the thing that happened with the illness was that I really became obsessed with archiving all my work. We started the Riot Grrrl archive at New York University, and that also became a book that has pages of a lot of different fanzines and a lot of different archival material in it. But I was really kind of obsessed with, I didn't know what was happening with my body. I didn't have a diagnosis. I didn't know if I was going to, end up unable to communicate and, unable to walk and stuff like that. So I was like, I have to wrap my life up in a bow. And Sydney came to me and said, I want to make this movie about you. And I was like, well, this might be my only chance. So I did it. Kind of thinking things would be a lot worse and that I wasn't ever going to get better and I wasn't going to get a diagnosis and there's going to be no treatment for what I had. And then I lived. And now I have all this, I have to live with, this movie, which is, I'm sure it's good, but, you know what I mean? It's really weird to be alive and then to have a movie about yourself. It's what? I thought I was dying or something and that I wouldn't have to watch this. Now I have to watch it. Now I have to live with, like, you know, the fact that I archived myself so heavily. Thank God I didn't write a book.
One of the things that was so great about the film, Kathleen, was just obviously that insight into you personally, and I know, and also just that information on the Riot Grrrl scene, because I know at the time, you know, trying to pick up information from Australia about Riot Grrrl and even just about Bikini Kill was pretty difficult. You were very protective of yourselves in some ways from, you know, a lot of media coverage, and in a way that you wouldn't be able to do these days.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think the reason why that happened was because when there were Riot Grrrl meetings in D.C. and in Olympia, and it's like, and they were all over the country, but those were the only ones that I ever went to, and you know, it was just, we ended up talking about the media the whole time, and at a certain point it was like, fuck it, we need to talk about the stuff we used to be talking about, which is like starting bands, you know, growing up with sexist dads, am I gay, you know what I mean, like real things that we were talking about before that we felt safe enough to talk about in this group for the first time. We weren't talking about because we were focusing on, like, oh, the media wrote this bad article about us and blah, 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 or like I talked to this media person, they twisted my words all around, and it was just like, well, let's just stop dealing with the media because it's just wasting our time. Like, we should be talking about something else. But I do think that then everybody became super focused on, like, you know, the movement being appropriated by the Spice Girls or whoever. And I don't know, it just got really boring and insular and not something I wanted to be involved in. I was like, I kind of had to make the choice that I would rather, that being in Bikini Kill and touring was enough.
Well, from nearly 20 years ago now, can you believe it? That's the fabulous sounds of Bikini Kill from their album Reject All American back in 1996 with Kathleen Hanna at the helm, and Capri Pants was the name of that song. And we're nearly at the tail end of this chat that I had with Kathleen Hanna a few weeks ago, and on the day that I actually spoke to her was the day that Lou Reed passed away, and I asked Kathleen whether he was an artist that had particular impact on her work.
You know, we went to the same gym. So I was like, he is in pretty good shape. I don't understand what happened, you know. He definitely influenced us in this band. It was really odd. I've never written songs that we were like, that sounds too much like the Velvet Underground, we have to scrap it. But we wrote several songs, oddly enough, that sounded too much like the Velvet Underground. And I hadn't listened to them in years and years. But clearly it's like you can't be a musician and not have been influenced by his work. So it was definitely, you know, a sad day for everyone. But we also lost Adam Yauch in the past year and a half, so that was another passing that was extremely difficult for us and sort of overshadowed just about everything. And Adam was a real supporter of Julie Ruin and allowed us to record the record at his studio. I still wake up and I'm like, I can't even, he was such a huge life force and so excited about so many different things. And he was actually the first person outside of our band to hear us play. And he was like, oh my God, you're the best band. I want to do a record label and put you guys out. But that never came to pass. But he gave us a lot of confidence by being the first person to hear us and say, oh, that song, ha ha ha, Armageddon is so good. And yeah, I think we still wake up in the morning and, you know, whenever it crosses our minds, we're like, did that really happen? Because it just feels so unreal.
I wanted to ask you, actually, do you and Adam ever write and record together, even just for fun?
You know, we are really supportive of each other, and we have worked together on, like, little projects where I'm like, I need you to make me a beat for this, or, you know, like if we're doing a benefit kind of thing, we DJ together or something like that. But I think we we're really different kinds of musicians, and we have threatened to start a band called Francois Marley, where we do French versions of Bob Marley songs at I don't know if you have those like fresh vegetable markets, like outdoor markets. That was our big idea, but we'll never do it, you know. I think we're both too finicky, and we just worry that we would fight too much.
You want to go and do French versions of Bob Marley songs at a fruit and vegetable market. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's our big project that we talk about doing together, but I'm sure that will never happen because we're both way too busy. He's acting in films now and doing soundtracks and all this stuff, so we'll see what happens. He's one of those musicians who just like wakes up and starts making music and makes music all day.
Yeah.
And I've never been that kind of musician, so we're very, very different that way. And I cannot rap. I simply cannot rap, and he can't really sing. So there you go.
Well, at least you can eat fruit and vegetables together.
We're really in kale juice, so you never know.
Kathleen, it's been wonderful talking to you. I can't wait to have you here in Melbourne for the Julie Ruin shows in January, and you're going to be playing Mona Foma too, which is a wonderful festival in Tassie. Yeah, I'm so excited to go back there. We've been there twice in Bikini, and I loved it both times. So, yeah, I'm really excited to go back there and see some more fun.
Kathleen Hanna there of the Julie Ruin. I don't know why she wouldn't want to make that project happen with her husband. As I mentioned, she's married to Ad Rock, former member of the Beastie Boys, Adam Horovitz, and wants to do French versions of Bob Marley's films at fruit and vegetable markets with him. Why wouldn't you want to dream large and do that? But also sad to hear her talking about the pain of losing Adam Yauch from the Beastie Boys over a year ago now. In May of 2012, he passed away from throat cancer, and obviously all of that family of friends still feeling the incredible pain of losing that pivotal member of the Beastie Boys.